Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lucy, and if you haven't met me before, I'm a self-taught accordionist from Australia, and I like to make free educational content here on YouTube for the beginner accordionist. This video today is inspired by a trend that I've noticed when taking on new students. I usually spend most of the first lesson addressing one thing, and that is posture. The way you hold your accordion, the way you sit, and the equipment that you're using is so important. And if you set yourself up correctly from the beginning, you're going to have a much more comfortable and enjoyable experience and more likely to stick at the instrument. I'm going to address three components that make up your posture and how you hold the accordion. First one being your seat. Second one being your equipment. And the third one is your own physical body posture and how you're holding the accordion. All right, let's get into it. When you're playing the accordion, you need to be sitting on a firm, flat surface, preferably a chair where your feet can be flat on the ground without armrests. If you have padding on your chair or you want to add padding like a cushion, that's totally fine, as long as you're not sinking into the seat. The worst thing you can play on is like a couch or a bed. The reason why you don't want to sit on a couch or a bed is that you're going to sink down into the cushion and you're not going to be able to set your legs and your back upright in order to support the instrument, and the instrument will sort of end up sitting above you instead of you sitting over it and having it tucked up, and you can't spread your legs apart and you can't rest the accordion on your legs if you're being sunken into the furniture. So please don't practice on a couch, don't practice on a bed or any other surface where you're not firm and flat. Another place you don't want to sit when you're a beginner, at the very least, is on a stool. If you're sitting high up on a stool and your feet aren't flat on the ground, you can't support the accordion on your left leg, which you really need in order to support the bellows and the left side of the instrument as it opens. If you can't support the instrument on your left leg, it's going to end up hanging down the left side of you and putting strain on your back and probably twisting you into a position that's going to cause you a lot of pain to your back and spine when you're done. You don't want to sit with your legs closed. This is something I see quite often. The accordion is just sitting on top of the legs, but not in a way where it can be supported once it's open. Think of the accordion, how much it expands when you open the bellows. It's so much bigger, and if you've got your legs snugly together, as you open the bellows, the instrument is going to fall down to your left side. It's going to put a strain on your back and your spine, and when it comes time to bring the bellows in, it's going to rely solely on your arm and your shoulder, and you could injure yourself, and you'll be wondering why anyone plays the accordion because it's so uncomfortable. Instead, you want to sit with your legs open, rest the left side of the accordion on your left leg. It won't necessarily stay there because obviously as you open the instrument, the bellows will move to the left and so will the bass buttons, but you should feel enough support on the left leg so that when you're bringing the accordion back in, it's not just hanging down the side of your body with solely your arm to lift it back up. The left leg helps keep the accordion upright so we don't get this rainbow shape. Another thing you don't want to do when you pick up an accordion is sit back into your chair and have the accordion leaning on your body. It might feel comfortable when you initially sit down and lean back, but it's going to be very difficult to play long term because you're not going to be able to bring the bellows in using all the muscles in your back. You need to be forward, you need to be able to activate your core, you need to feel strong and not relaxed like you're lounging. On to mistakes that I see with equipment. I regularly see accordionists not using a back strap. Now, this is a personal choice. You don't need to play with a back strap, but it is going to help keep your shoulder straps in place and take a lot of the pressure off your actual shoulders to keep them in place. This is what a back strap looks like. You can buy them online from your local music store if they supply accordion equipment. I highly recommend getting one for all accordions. Some people only use a back strap for larger accordions. I prefer to use them with all of my accordions. A back strap is especially important when you're standing or walking around as you play. You're going to have the shoulder strap slide off your body when you're moving around, which is not what you want to be thinking about when you're performing. Back straps are not expensive, they are easy to install, and it'll make your experience so much easier. Watch what happens when I play without a back strap. You might notice that to compensate for the lack of support, my shoulders start to ease upwards in order to keep the accordion in place. Once you see how I play with a back strap, you might notice I'm more relaxed, I look stronger, more in control because I can activate my core and I don't have to worry about inching my shoulders up to keep the straps in place. Playing with so much tension in your shoulders is going to fatigue you and also limit how far you can take the bellows out because you will be battling with the left strap potentially falling off. So you'll only be going out a little bit so that it's easy to bring it back in, which is going to affect the way that your music sounds if you're having to change really frequently. Another thing to pay attention to is the quality of the straps that come with your accordion. If you inherit or buy a second-hand accordion and it's quite old, pay attention to the straps. If they're thin, if they're really firm, if they're crumbling, replace them. You don't need to play your accordion with the straps that they come with. If you have thin straps, it can cut into you and just be really heavy and uncomfortable, particularly on the bass strap side. If you have a really bad, flimsy old bass strap, that is a lot of pressure on a very small and delicate part of your body, your wrist. Your wrist deserves padding and comfort, so give it the love it deserves. Buy some nice thick padded straps and put them on your accordion. Feel the difference. Choosing the right size accordion is very important. I see a lot of beginners playing accordions with 120 bass buttons, which in some cases is their only option if it was gifted or handed down and that's the only accordion they have. But if you're in a position where you can go out and buy an accordion secondhand or brand new, I recommend you buying something that you can physically hold for more than just 2 minutes. If you stand up with the accordion and you feel instant back pain, or if you sit down and you put the accordion on your lap and you feel it crushing your thighs, it's probably a bit too big for you. I would personally never play a 120 bass accordion because it's just too big and heavy for me, and I personally don't need the range that you have in the bass buttons. And if you're a super beginner, you're probably not going to need that many bass buttons either, at least for a few years. So try and find something that's not too heavy, not too big. So look into the amount of reeds that it has, look into the amount of treble keys, look into the amount of bass buttons it has. Make sure you do your research properly and don't just go out and buy the biggest, coolest looking instrument, because it might be the reason that you can't continue and you could injure yourself. I want to take your attention now to the bass strap. That is the strap that goes over your left hand and wrist, and that keeps your hand in place so that you can push and pull the bellows without losing contact with the accordion. There's a fine line between having that strap too loose or having it too tight. You don't want it so tight that you're restricted and you can't move your hand around freely, but it's probably worse, in my opinion, to have it so loose, because when it's so loose, your hand is flapping around in that strap, not staying in place when you move direction. You don't want your hand to be going from the side of the accordion out to the strap, into the accordion again, and slapping back and forth, because you're going to lose position of your fingers. And if you're trying to execute a difficult bass jump and you're also having to navigate the fact that your hand is sliding all around under that strap, It's just going to be impossible. You want the strap snug enough so that when you put pressure on the strap, you still have at least a little bit of contact with the accordion or just the slightest gap. I prefer to have just a little bit of contact with the accordion so that my hand's not slapping back and forth, but enough to be able to move up and down comfortably. Play around with the adjuster on top and get it right, because this is really important for how you're going to be able to bring the accordion back in. I want to talk about your elbow and your wrist now. I often see beginners playing the accordion with what I like to call the claw. It's where the wrist is coming into the accordion at a 90-degree angle, and we have this little chicken wing elbow tucked in behind the accordion. This is going to be extremely restrictive and quite uncomfortable. What you want to do is relax your shoulder, bring your elbow forward so it's in line with the keyboard, and then you will see that your wrist will naturally form a straight line with your elbow. You want your whole arm to be straight, not bent, not like this, nice and straight. See the difference when I'm trying to do a quick run on the accordion treble side? When my hand is tucked in beside my body, it's more difficult to get up and down because I don't have space underneath my hand to pass through my fingers. It's also uncomfortable, and I wouldn't want to play like this for very long. Something else you really don't want to do with your shoulders is tense them and shrug them up. If you're doing this, it may be a sign that you're leaning back too far. It may be a sign that your shoulder straps are not tight enough. It may be a sign that you need a back strap to keep them in place. Or it may be a sign that your accordion's not supported on your legs, and it's in fact leaning back on your body. You don't want to feel like you are holding the accordion in place. You want to feel like the accordion is sitting on you and you are over it. If your shoulders are shrugged, have a look in the mirror. See if you can relax them. See if you can make any adjustments with your accordion so you can play nice and relaxed. You want your shoulders to be relaxed because they're going to do a lot of the work with the pushing and the pulling. Another common mistake that I see is students pushing the accordion in from the forearm and the wrist. When you're pushing in with your forearm and your wrist, you are putting so much pressure and tension on a really weak part of your body. When you have your entire back ready to help you out, but it's locked into place because you're just using the forearm. If you're doing a motion like this, then you're going to get very tired, as opposed to doing a motion like this. Imagine you are pulling apart a Christmas cracker. That's the motion that you want to have. You want your back to be moving your whole arm, rather than having your shoulder and your upper arm locked into place and just using the forearm. Watch what happens when I relax, I engage my back, I support the accordion on my left leg, and I bring it in with a slight upwards tilt rather than bringing it up like a rainbow shape. Placement of the treble keyboard is extremely important when you're sitting down to play the accordion. This keyboard needs to be slightly wedged in your right thigh and not sitting on top of your leg. If you have the keyboard tucked inside your right thigh, this will help you when you're bringing the bellows in because your accordion isn't going to slide around. Even if you have shoulder straps and a back strap, your accordion can still slide around if you don't have it wedged in the right thigh. Have a look at the difference and the amount of sliding around I experience when I don't have it tucked into my right leg. The stronger and the more competent you are at your instrument, the less you will rely on having to follow these techniques specifically. You may get to a point where you can play on a stool, where you can play with the accordion sitting on your lap, and you can play with your legs together. But it requires a lot of physical strength in the right parts of your body, and if you're not ready for it, you can do some serious damage. If you are a beginner accordionist, I do recommend taking this list and filming yourself play, and then going through the list to see if there's any adjustments that you need to make. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to my channel so you can be here for the next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye!